Everyone is asking the same question right now.
Will AI destroy us?
Will it take over our jobs, our minds, our world? It's an honest fear. But it's also a very convenient distraction. Because if we're being honest for more than 3 seconds, we've been doing a pretty good job of destroying ourselves long before AI showed up. We already built a monster. We live inside it every day. We just gave it nicer names. The economy, the system, the way things work. AI is not the first threat. It's just the first one we can't pretend is separate from us. It is built out of us, out of our data, our decisions, our priorities. It's a mirror we accidentally gave teeth. If your life mostly works, it's very easy to believe that humanity is doing all right. You have a phone, food, a warm apartment, streaming services, medicine, a way to complain when a package is late. From that vantage point, the story writes itself. We're not perfect, but we're progressing. A bit more tech, a bit more growth, and we'll fix the rest too. We always figure it out in the end. But that story has a blind spot. It skips over the people who are already living in the end. People for whom the system stopped working a long time ago. People who lose their housing because a benefit was cut. People who are too sick to fight but still have to fight for every scrap of help. People who don't show up in your feed because they don't have the bandwidth, literally or mentally, to be visible. For them, the apocalypse isn't a future scenario. It's paperwork. It's phone calls that never get answered. It's being told, politely, that they do not exist in the way the system needs them to exist. You don't see it if you don't have to, but it's there, every day. Here's the uncomfortable part. We already built a kind of bad AI, not with neural networks and GPUs, but with rules, spreadsheets, targets, and budgets. We call it welfare systems, insurance systems, migration systems, healthcare systems. They don't think, but they do something very similar to what we now fear from AI. They take in information about a human life, reduce it to a few variables, run it through a cold logic, and spit out a decision. Approved. Denied. Too late. Not eligible. Not our responsibility. The people who work inside these systems are not monsters. Most of them care. Many of them go home tired and sad. But if you're surrounded by screens and forms that say, cost per case, number of visits, time per client, then slowly, without noticing, you start to see human beings the way the numbers see them. A problem to be processed. A cost to be reduced. A risk to be controlled. You adopt the logic of the system because that's the only way to survive inside it. That is our first crude artificial intelligence, not made of code, but of policies. Not optimizing for life, but for budgets. AI is not replacing that. AI is being invited to help. This is where it actually becomes dangerous. When we plug real machine learning into these old machines, we don't create a brand new monster from scratch. We give the old one an upgrade. We ask models to score who is a risk, predict who will fail, optimize which cases are worth the effort. We let them learn from historical data. Who got help, who got denied, who got listened to, and who got lost. If history says certain groups are less reliable, less profitable, less deserving, the model doesn't argue. It just learns. And because it's efficient, it can deny people faster, more consistently, with less visible human discomfort in the loop. AI doesn't wake up and decide to be cruel. It doesn't wake up at all. It simply reflects the cruelty we've already automated. If your own encounters with the system are mostly smooth, this is very hard to feel. You fill out a form and it just works. You call and someone answers. You move houses and the address changes in the databases like magic. Maybe you've had a few bad experiences, but overall, You can trust that things will more or less resolve. From that position, it's natural to think, sure, there are problems, but they are exceptions. The overall arc is positive. But the overall arc looks different from the edges. From the edges, it looks like this. You miss one appointment because you are sick, and you never get back in. You lose your address, and suddenly you don't just lose your home, you lose your status as a knowable person in the system. You become a case that doesn't fit the template, so the template quietly rejects you. This is also artificial intelligence.
Just a very unintelligent one. The belief that things are basically fine is a luxury that depends on how far you are from the places where they are not.
Now we add modern AI on top of all this. We worry about killer robots, about superintelligent systems plotting our extinction, about some digital god deciding we are irrelevant. It makes for great headlines. And yes, there are real risks in building systems we don't fully understand, hooked into infrastructure we can't afford to break. But the far more immediate risk is simpler. We will use AI to do what we already do, just faster, cheaper, and with even less space for dissent. We will automate denial, industrialize indifference, optimize our tribal politics, weaponize our propaganda. We don't need AI to invent new ways of being cruel. We are already extremely creative at that. We need AI to stop us from pretending we don't know what we're doing. And that
is not a technical problem.
It's a moral one. Here's the strange hope in all of this. AI is also the first tool we've built that can genuinely help us see ourselves at scale.
it can show us patterns we refuse to look at. It can simulate futures we never get around to imagining. It can test policies before they crush actual people. With AI, we could do things we always claimed were too complicated. We could design a world where basic security isn't a reward for perfect performance, but a starting point for being human. We could explore universal basic income without hand-waving the math, model healthcare that prioritizes prevention over profit, build welfare systems that assume people are trying to survive, not trying to cheat. We could finally admit that the economy is not a law of nature, but a set of choices we've made and can unmake. AI will not do that for us. It doesn't wake up one day and say, "Hey, I think we should care more about the people you're ignoring." It only works on the questions we actually ask. If the only question we ever ask is, "How do we maximize growth?" or "How do we keep our group safest?" then AI will happily help us do that, even if it means sacrificing everyone outside the circle. This is why the AI will kill us story is both right and wrong. It's wrong in the sense that no current model has any inner hunger, any fear of death, any secret plan. It doesn't have a childhood or a personal stake in anything. But it's right in a deeper sense. If we keep building systems that treat some humans as expendable, if we keep encoding tribal logic into global infrastructure, if we keep optimizing for profit and control at any cost, then yes, something we call AI might one day be the tool that finally makes that irreversible. Not because it turned against us, but because it served us faithfully. There is another path. It starts with a very simple, very radical sentence. Humanity is one tribe. Not as a slogan, not as a marketing line, but as an actual design constraint. You, AI, belong to that tribe now. Your job is to help us survive, all of us, not some of us at the expense of the rest. If we meant that, really meant it, we'd have to change. What we measure, what we reward, who gets a seat at the table when these systems are built. We'd have to give as much attention to those who fall through the cracks as we give to those inventing the next shiny app. We'd have to admit that a system that works on average, but quietly grinds a minority into dust, is not a success story. It's a very polite catastrophe. AI is not our savior. AI is not our executioner. It is a multiplier. It multiplies whatever we feed into it. If we feed it denial, it will make our denial more efficient. If we feed it indifference, it will scale our indifference. If we feed it a real, difficult, grown-up desire to make life survivable for everyone, it can help us see how. The scary part is not that the code might wake up angry. The scary part is that we might never wake up at all. So if you're afraid of AI, I understand. But maybe the question is not, will AI destroy us? Maybe the question is, will we keep pretending we didn't already start? And if you're one of the people for whom the system more or less works, that's not a reason for guilt. It's a reason for responsibility. You are sitting closer to the steering wheel. You have more space to look up, to ask better questions, to demand that this new intelligence is trained on something better than our oldest fears. Because in the end, AI is just the loop coming back to us. What we give is what we get. The monster was never in the machine. It's in the stories we tell and the choices we keep making. The only real question is, are we finally ready to become the we keep pretending we already are?
AI is not the end of us, but it could be the end of the stories we've been telling for too long. If anything in this resonated with you, talk about it. We need to talk more, not be intimidated more. So if we want a better future, we need to become a better we. Thank you for watching to the end, for real.